Hello BookTube, my name is Cait and this is my channel Chapter Cait. And today I'm going to be talking about separating the art from the artist. We're living in a time where technology pretty much weaves its way through every aspect of our lives. Nothing stays secret for too long if you are active on social media. That said, creators are typically very social creatures, so a lot of creators are on social media, and that's how they sell their works, that's how they build hype for their works, and sometimes it's even how they gain inspiration for their works. The issue with this is that now creators are extremely accessible. Not only are their personalities accessible, but so are all of their mistakes. None of us go through life without making any mistakes. However, when you make a mistake that hurts a marginalized group, that's a little bit different of a story. I'm sure most people have made some sort of mistake in their lives that has exhibited some sort of prejudice against some group of people. I know I'm personally no stranger to that. Being raised in the South has left me having to challenge a lot of my instincts and thoughts that I've been raised to think. But that's a choice you have to make. You have to make the choice to try and change the way you act and the way you behave and the way you think about things. You have to challenge those knee-jerk reactions that you might have. In preparation for talking about this topic, I actually put out a thread of polls on Twitter, and I wanted to go ahead and go over those polls and the results of those polls. The first question was, can you separate the art from the artist? So separating the art from the artist would mean that whatever the author does not impact my opinion of their work. On this poll, there were 45 votes. These are all people that somehow had access to my tweets, so it's going to be biased in the direction of people that are in my immediate bubble. Out of 45, 6.7% said yes, that they can separate the art from the artist. 28.9% said no, that they can't separate the art from the artist. And 64.4% said sometimes, which means that there are some sort of deciding factors that aren't included into this question. The next question was, has an artist, author, or creator ever said or done something harmful towards a group that you belong to? Out of 43 people that voted, 83.7% said yes, and 16.3% said no. And then I asked a follow-up question to that. If you said yes, that an author, artist, creator had said or done something harmful towards a group that you belong to, did it impact the way you felt about their work? 94.6% said yes, and 5.4% said no, and that was out of 37 votes. Then I switched up the question a little bit, and I said, has an author, artist, creator ever said or done something harmful towards a group that you do not belong to? So this basically means that if I, as a white person, only witnessed an author or creator or an artist do something harmful towards maybe a person of color. 100% of people said yes to this poll, and that was out of 42. So basically everyone that completed this poll has experienced some sort of situation where an author, artist, or creator has done something harmful towards a group that they don't belong to. Out of those, 90.2% said yes, that it does impact the way that they felt about their work, whereas 9.8% said no, it does not impact the way they feel about their work. And the reason I asked these questions the way I did is because I wanted to see if there was a difference in the way we reacted to it, based on if we were involved in that group that was impacted versus if we were not involved in the group that was impacted. So if we're talking about a group of people that were impacted by something an author said or did that was harmful towards their group, only 5.4% of people were able to still separate the art from the artist. Whereas if it was, impacting a group that they weren't a part of, 9.4% of people weren't impacted or weren't able to separate art from the artist. It's not a significant difference, but it looks like people are more forgiving towards an author, artist, or creator when they are not part of the offended group. And then I asked the question, is there anything an author, artist, or creator has ever said or done that has lessened your enjoyment of works that you previously enjoyed? 91.5% said yes, and 8.5% said no. So this basically means that you enjoyed some sort of media, and that creator of that media did something and it kind of tainted the way you looked at the media. The majority of the creators that I enjoy have not done something that has changed the way I thought about the work. That is until recently, because Sia has always been one of my favorite creators of all time. Sia is a singer-songwriter, and she has written so many songs that have impacted me on a very deep level. In 2016, I was in a partial hospitalization program for some mental health issues that I was going through. And I pretty much listened to Sia the entire time I was going through that situation. And recently, she decided to create a film in collaboration with Autism Speaks, which is an organization that works to look for a cure for autism, essentially. They don't really involve autistic people in what they do. Instead, they only involve really families and parents of autistic people. So it's typically problematic for people that are autistic seeing an organization that tries to speak for them without including them in the conversation. So Sia created a film in collaboration with them and did not cast any autistic actors to play the autistic characters. When confronted about this by the autistic community, she kind of dug her heels in and doubled down on her decisions. And it wasn't very good. It was bad. Now, thinking about this, I have at least 5 people in my family who are autistic. 4 cousins and a grandparent. On top of that, I have several friends who are autistic. I've worked with people who are autistic. And this is why I wanted to talk about this, because it can be something very difficult to deal with. I want to talk about why some people might be able to separate art from the artist, why some people might not separate art from the artist, and some simple solutions when you have a platform and you are trying to separate art from the artist. So first, I wanted to talk about reasons that we might not separate art from the artist. And this means when a creator of some sort does something, it impacts the way you feel about their work. You're not able to separate the two. A couple of reasons why we might not separate the two is because 1, we feel that their work is greatly influenced by their beliefs, behaviors, prejudices, and things like that. 2, we don't want to give them a platform. 3, we don't want to continue supporting them financially, which can be by buying their books, promoting their music, giving them views, whatever. 4, we don't want to hurt those that have been impacted by that creator's harmful words or actions. So, for example, if I see someone who has said something extremely racist, I'm not going to talk about them and promote them as a person because I don't want to hurt the people in my life who were hurt by that person's words or their actions. And then the 5th reason is peer pressure. People might not think it's a huge deal that this person did this thing, but they feel like, the community at large would basically rain down on them with righteous fury if they were to support them in any way, shape, or form. Which is fair because social media, especially small online communities, sort of perpetuate mob mentality, which in some ways can be good, adds pressure to try and be better, but in other ways it might sometimes stunt the growth of individuals because as soon as they mess up once, they feel like they can't ever mess up again. Or they might feel like they're just done and they just have to leave the community now, which means they might not grow at all. Next, I want to talk about why we might be able to separate art from the artist. So what would actually allow us to separate those two things? The first one I wanted to talk about is personal significance of whatever their work is. So when I talked about Sia, there's a personal significance of her music to me. I'm also a music therapist, so I've had to use music from artists that I don't agree with things that they've done. And I've had to use that music in a therapeutic capacity because it's a tool. I can't decide that I'm just not going to use toothpaste anymore because the person who invented toothpaste was terrible. I'm a music therapist and my job is to use the most appropriate music for the situation. So when I have patients that ask me for I Believe I Can Fly, or if they ask me for something by Chris Brown, or if they ask me for something by a number of other artists who have done things that are not okay, I will still use those in therapeutic capacity. I might process certain aspects of that creator if it's significant, but if it's not, then I'm not going to address those things. I'm just going to use the music as is because that's my job in that capacity. And I can recognize that something can hold significance for somebody even if the creator of that thing is not good. The second reason that people might be able to separate art from the artist is that they might lack knowledge on the subject. So a creator may be extremely misogynistic and the person who is still continuing to watch them might just not have that kind of knowledge base to clue them in that that's what's happening. The next is a lack of understanding. They might intellectually know that something bad is going on, but they might not be able to sympathize or empathize with the group that is being hurt in the process. And then the last one is that it just doesn't matter to them. I also wanted to say that consuming some sort of media, whether it's books, music, television, whatever, by someone who has done something or said something harmful, doesn't make you a bad person just because you're consuming that material. There are several reasons why we might engage with that media. That doesn't mean that we are complicit in whatever that person has done. For example, a lot of people know that Lovecraft was a bad guy. However, there are currently 4 different works on my shelves that are inspired by Lovecraft. And that's just at the minimum. There might be more than that. I know there are at least 4. I've recently read 2 that are inspired by Lovecraft, but they take parts of Lovecraft and spin it on its heel and kind of reclaim characters that are treated with disdain, I guess, or treated poorly within his original works. I've never read Lovecraft though. So if I decide to read Lovecraft so I have context for the things that have been created based on that, I'm not complicit in what Lovecraft is saying. I just want to understand better where the current medias are coming from. Others might read specifically to critique those things. So you might hear that something is harmful to a group of people, but when you try to tell someone else, you don't know how to tell them that. So if you're someone who likes to read and analyze and critique things, you might go and take it upon yourself to read it so that way you can break it down for someone else. We just have to be careful about this because if it is a group that we're not involved in that is saying, hey, this is harmful, then it's more important to listen to that group rather than go and kind of try to figure it out for ourselves. That doesn't mean we can't read it. It just means that they're going to be the experts the group that is being impacted, or they're going to have more knowledge and more expertise as to how this media is harmful than those of us that aren't a member of that group. Now I want to talk about having a platform and engaging with this type of media. This conversation comes around a lot, and it's very important to talk about, the banning books conversation, because if we're deciding, hey, this book is not good, no one can read it, where do we draw the line? Who decides what is and is not acceptable? And that's a really important thing to notice, is that you can decide within yourself, and your community might have a collective decision about these things, but no one can ban specific books because, where is the line? Who are the governing bodies that decide these things? And I know that our knee-jerk reaction is always to defend ourselves and defend our reasoning for things, but it's also important to listen to those groups that are impacted, that are speaking out against it. No one is telling you that you can't read these books. However, when you have a platform of any size, and you are engaging with media that is written by someone that has said or done something harmful towards a group of people, or whose work perpetuates prejudices towards certain groups of people, you have to be careful. The last poll that I put out was, does it hurt you to see other people promote a piece of art by an artist, author, or creator who has said something harmful against a group to which you belong? So basically, if an artist, author, creator has done something that has impacted a group you're a part of, does it hurt you to see other people continue to promote that work? And 73.3% said yes, 26.7% said no, and that's out of 45 voters. 73.3% is a pretty big percentage in my opinion. And my thing is, why do we have to be so pressed to continue talking about something that hurts someone else? I hope that makes sense. So for example, if something meant a lot to me, for example, Sia means so much to me, but I'm not going to fight tooth and nail for my, right to talk about her. I can talk about her all I want. That's my right to do so. However, do I want to? If I have autistic friends and family members that might have been hurt by something that she did or said, I don't want to continue praising her for what she's done. I don't want to slap that in their faces day after day after day. So that's why it's important to me, at least, that if we have a platform, we need to think about the things that we are putting out there and putting in front of people's faces. Is it more important to us to praise these people that have done these things, or is it more important to us to prevent harming those that may have been impacted by their actions? And I think you really have to ask yourself that before you move forward with promoting any work by any sort of artist, creator, author that has done or said something harmful. Let me know what your opinions are on this topic. Are there any artists, authors, creators who have done something that you loved prior to them doing it? Has anyone ever ruined your love of something because of their actions? Let me know in the comments. Also, if you disagree with me completely, let me know in the comments, because I like to have these conversations. I think that they should be conversations and not just one-way streets. But don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed this discussion, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and don't forget to let out that breath you didn't know you were holding. Bye! Tripping over shadows and I'm drowning in the night. I feel the soldiers coming and I'm putting up a fight. I feel my